Sure.
Okay. Three, two, one. Welcome to the Sports Rivals podcast, where two friends who root for rival sports teams talk about the league. My name is Daniel Lee, and my guest Segif Sharon. My name is Daniel Lee, as I said, and I root for the Broncos. Segif.
Yeah, so my name is Sega Sharon. I root for the New England Patriots, and that's very unpopular here in New Jersey. But I used to live in Massachusetts, so that's where that comes from. And yeah, I really love the Patriots. I've been following them really closely for a couple of years now. And yeah,
All right, Segif. So we have a lot talked about today. Free agency is still going underway, but the bulk of it pretty much occurred. So we're going to talk about my team first, Denver Broncos. So the Broncos had an interesting free agency period this year. I would say it's a lot of retooling, a lot of resigning, stuff like that. So let's just get into a couple of the contracts. So first, Justin Simmons signed a 4-year, $61 million contract. So my initial thoughts: he's one of the top safeties, one of the top free safeties in the league, and you have to pay him that money, even though it may seem a lot compared to what other safeties received this year. And yeah, Seg up your thoughts.
I mean, it's a great move for the organization, really. He's like an elite free safety, really, really outstanding player. And you really got to pay him whatever he wanted because you can't afford to lose that kind of talent on the defense, especially with the defense being the strong point of the team. Great signing, really.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give that signing an A for my team because that's just something we needed to do, and if we didn't, I'd be very pissed. Okay, the next signing we got is Ronald Darby, 3 years, $30 million, $19.5 million guaranteed. So initial thoughts of the signing. He's Ronald Darby coming from the Washington football team. He was one of their better corners. He was very good when he stayed healthy, and that's pretty much the only concern with him right now, his health. But I think he could play under Vic Fangio's defense because he's a versatile corner. He can press. He can play in the zone because that's what he played last year. And yeah, I'm gonna give that an A minus because not sure about his health.
Yeah, Darby's a very solid player. He's been around the league a little bit, but hopefully he can stick in Denver because he's a very solid player. They paid him a lot. They paid him a lot of
Yep.
money guaranteed. But I think that's what they needed to do to really bring in talent into the building because cornerback was a really weak position coming into free agency for them. But yeah, I think it's a good move for them. Hopefully they can bank on his health and hopefully he can play some quality football for them.
Yeah, corner is one of the positions I was hoping the Broncos would address in free agency, and I'm actually very happy with the Broncos. Very happy with George Payton. Okay, the next few I'm just gonna talk about not signings, but a couple cuts and releases. So Kareem Jackson was cut from the Denver Broncos, and Philip Lindsay, his our restricted free agency tender was pulled, so that means that he could sign with any team. And of course, he signed a 1-year, $3 million deal with the Houston Texans. So these moves, I'm okay with this. Kareem Jackson, yes, he was a great piece to our defense last year, and he's a good locker room and veteran presence. And I saw a lot of fans on Broncos Instagram and Twitter talking about how they didn't like the move because he's a good defensive captain, he's veteran, he has good experience. But at the end of the day, this is the league. This is business. This is a business. So we needed to cut him because he was eating up our cap like crazy. Philip Lindsay, this move I was a little more iffy on because he was getting paid minimal money. He got paid 3 mil in Houston. Um, and he's not even going to play in Houston. But I think the Broncos could have came to a mutual agreement with Philip Lindsay and maybe paid him like 2 mil or something, 2.5 mil. And overall, I'm gonna give the Kareem Jackson cut an A, and I'm gonna give the Philip Lindsay cut actually a C plus.
Yeah, I think the Jackson move is a great move for the Broncos. Obviously, he's a very solid player in the back end of the defense, but he's aging. Obviously, play could deteriorate a little bit, and he saved them a lot of money cutting him. So they did what they had to do there, and hopefully they can somehow replace him in the draft or sign a budget safety in free agency. The Lindsey move was a bit of a head scratcher in my opinion because when he played last year, Melvin Gordon was very inconsistent. He didn't really have the season he was looking forward to having. And Lindsey, when he came in, he was a really good back. He ran aggressively and ran they ran a lot outside, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep,
They ran a
yep.
lot of outside runs for him, but he showed the ability to run between like the guards and stuff. So I don't know why, because he's overall a very solid back. And clearly the market showed that it wouldn't have taken a lot of money for them to bring him back. So that was a bit of a head scratcher in my opinion. Yeah, I just don't know why they didn't pay him a little bit, you know?
Yeah, last year under Pat Shermer's offense, I was very confused on the play calling on actually like the reps that Philip Lindsay was getting. He was going in like once a drive, like every 3 drives, just going in. And when he would go in, he would actually be meaningful and get like a 10-yard run or a 9-yard run. And then they would just put Melvin Gordon back in, who struggled at times and fumbled. So yeah, very confused about that. And he's a hometown boy, Colorado boy. He went to Colorado undrafted, and he got where he needed to as a Denver Bronco. So I don't know why we didn't retain him. But anyways, moving on. Um, Following up on the Philip Lindsay signing, we signed Mike Boone to 2 years, 3.85 million, 2.6 million guaranteed. So initial thoughts. I heard that he was a solid back in Minnesota. He just didn't get that much playing time because Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. But I guess George Payton had a special connection to him, because George Payton was on the Vikings last year, and they brought him in to be a backup to Melvin Gordon. So this signing, I'm gonna give a B plus. He looks to be underrated. He looks to be a solid running back, but it's Philip Lindsay, so yeah, I'm gonna give that a B.
Yeah, I mean, they got him on a very affordable contract. Obviously, there's the familiarity with Peyton coming from the Vikings. Actually, I've seen a lot of Vikings fans on Twitter sad to see him go because they all like commented, "Oh man, he was such a solid player for us. He deserved more opportunity," which is unfortunate that he was stuck behind Dalvin Cook. But hey, maybe you guys are gonna get a good player here in Boone. Maybe a nice little change of pace back behind Gordon and Rolls Royce.
Yeah, just the thing, like we paid him more than Philip Lindsay got paid in Houston. It's just,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a little
obviously
interesting.
with like he doesn't have familiarity with the system,
Yeah.
and if Lindsey did, it's just a bit disappointing, really, the Lindsey decision. Do you want to
Okay.
talk about Shelby Harris?
Yes, this is the next big signing. 3 years,
Yes.
$27 million, $15 million guaranteed, re-signing Shelby Harris to the Denver Broncos. I am very happy about this move. One of the top interior defensive linemen in the league, the best hands in the league, in my opinion, as a defensive lineman. A lot of batted down passes, and yeah, I'm gonna give this an A plus. Just retaining him with that money is just kind of incredible, honestly.
Yeah, he took a hometown discount a little bit here.
Yep.
He's obviously one of the better interior linemen in the NFL. And honestly, last year with a very banged up defense for you guys, he was your best defensive player from the games that I watched him play. Very solid stuffing the run and a surprisingly good pass rusher from the interior lineman spot. And yeah, I mean, he'll look to help you guys with your playoff push, and hopefully the offense can step it up because I know he'll be a big factor on the defense.
Yeah, our returning defensive linemen and just front seven in general seem to be pretty solid, building off of what we did last year. So obviously we have Shelby Harris, we have Mike Purcell, who played very well at times, and then we have Draymond Jones, who is a young, I think like second year player at this point, third year going into his third
I
year.
think he's going to his third year. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I think this is a very, very good signing. Like again, A plus. It's just all around amazing, and
yeah, that
he
front
we've been,
seven's
yeah,
dangerous.
we've been taking
Front
care of him
seven's
pretty well as
dangerous.
well. So we've been taking care of him pretty well as well. So when he like had his child, we flew him right back to Denver after the game. We got a good relationship going. And then, okay, this signing happened about like an hour or two ago from when this podcast is being recorded. And again, I'm very happy about this too, but I don't know what the Bears are doing. But Kyle Fuller was released this afternoon, and then the Broncos swooped him up right away. 1 year, 9.5 million, 9 million guaranteed. So I'm just gonna give this an A plus because it fills our corner room. He's a very talented corner. He played under Vic Fangio, and the best years of his career so far have been under Vic Fangio. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you signed one of the elite cornerbacks in the NFL for a nice. I mean, I wouldn't say affordable, but that's still what you got to pay to get him in the room. Obviously, the Fangio connections there. Really, really excellent player. Grew up 15 minutes from here, from our
Yeah.
house, pretty much.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, he's a really, really good player. And you guys went into free agency with corner being a weakness, very weak corner room, and now it's a strength of your team. And honestly, it's like one of the elite cornerback rooms in the NFL now. Honestly,
Yeah, overall, this free agency, for the Denver Broncos. I'm very satisfied with what we did. I'm very satisfied that John Elway decided to step down as a GM. I mean, although he took a higher position, he like basically gave himself a raise, but I'm still happy that he stepped down from making those decisions because the past few years have been let's just say it hasn't been too good for his Broncos fans. And George Payton, he's coming in, a very smart GM. He's playing it smart, and he's also playing it long term. So this is not something where he's just going to go into free agency and get a bunch of big splashes, trade a lot, because he was under pressure in Minnesota to make those kinds of trades. So he wants to build through the draft, and yeah, I'm very happy with what the Broncos did in free agency. So
Yeah,
now,
obviously.
yeah, okay,
Oh,
you can go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say how he had a lot of success in Minnesota building through the draft with Jefferson, a couple of their corners that they drafted, Dantzler, Gladney, a lot of linemen they drafted, Bradbury and Reef, I think, right?
Yeah,
Maybe. Um, so he was pressured a bit with the Ngakwe deal and the Stephon Diggs trade, obviously, but he's a really solid GM. I think he's building a team the right way, building through the draft, not making huge splashes in free agency. And right now, I think the only position you really need to address is cornerback or quarterback. Sorry,
yeah. Well,
uh,
we'll get to that later.
we will get to that. We will get to that.
Okay, but
Jumping the
now
gun here a bit.
now we're going to get to Segev's team. We're going to the Patriots free agency recap. So yeah, Segev, take it away.
Yeah, this one's gonna be a doozy here. Um, so first of all, we re-signed Cam Newton. 1 year, $1.5 million base actually, $3.5 million in bonuses, and $9 million in incentives. Obviously, Cam Newton had a bit of a weaker season last year. A lot of balls in the dirt, a lot of inconsistency. He started off very strong with a couple of great games against the Dolphins, the Seahawks, and the Raiders. Granted, those are weaker defenses, but he played really well. Then he got hit with COVID, and he never really came back the same. He had a really rough stretch in the middle of the year, got blown out by the Niners, lost to the lowly Denver Broncos.
Yes, sir.
Um, and yeah, it was just not pretty to watch at times. But in the end, he gutted out a couple of close wins. And the big knock was that his mechanics are off. He had a lot of inconsistency with his mechanics, but also he didn't have a lot of weapons. And the
Yep.
argument for bringing back Cam is giving him the opportunity to play with actual receivers and tight ends and not practice squad players.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm really excited to see what Cam can do this year. I think he's still a solid NFL quarterback, and if not, it's still a 1 year deal, so you never know.
So
And
what's
then
your
the
grade
next
on
move,
this? What's your grade
oh,
on
I'll
this?
give that a B, solid B. He still needs to prove that he can make it in this league, and I think he can. I really think he can. We got him a lot of pieces that we'll talk about soon.
Yeah. Okay. So my thoughts on Cam Newton, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. They didn't have a proper offseason, and he had to learn the Josh McDaniels offense pretty quick. So yeah, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's still got what it takes to be a solid starter quarterback in the NFL. And with the weapons you got and the defense that Bill Belichick runs, I think that's solid enough to get the Patriots to back to the playoffs and maybe back even into Super Bowl contention. And yeah, I think his shoulder was a little bit messed up last year. And obviously, again, like you said, they had no weapons. So, and his contract, like a lot of people in the beginning when they signed him, they were saying how like, oh, you're overpaying him. Why not just draft one? Well, if you actually look at close into his contract, it's pretty cheap and it's just all incentives.
Yeah, it's all incentive and bonus based. So yeah, the next free agent we re-signed actually is Justin Bethel, 3 year, $6 million deal. Elite special teamer, known around the league as one of the best special teamers in the NFL. Excellent gunner, excellent on punt returns, kickoff returns. I'd give that an A. Really, really solid player. I'm really happy with the deal we gave him. Really, I'm just excited to have him back because he makes a really positive impact on the team.
Yep.
So next we re-signed Dietrich Wise for 4 years, up to $30 million, $10 million guaranteed. Wise is a bit of an interesting one because he started off his career very, very slowly. He was drafted, I think, in 2016. And that was a really bad draft for the Patriots. Not a lot of starters drafted. Half the players aren't even on the team anymore. But he's the one that stuck. He started off slow, but last year he really shined a little bit. Really, he was a very solid player. Had a great game against the Raiders. Hopefully, he can just put it all together, become an elite interior lineman, And yeah, I'll give it a B minus because he still needs to show me a bit more. But for now, he's just a very solid player.
Yeah, it's just another like signing that you kind of have to do because he played like like he played well last year, like kind of, but yeah,
Yeah, he knows the system too.
yeah. So I guess Belichick wants a system guy and wants to retain that. So yeah, it's a whatever signing, but they did have to pay him.
Yeah. And here, I think, is the most important re signing of the offseason that we made. David Andrews, 4 years, $19 million with $6.5 million guaranteed. So early on in free agency, the reports were that David Andrews, he was interested in coming back, but monetarily, the Patriots had already spent a lot of money, and it was going to be interesting to see how they would make his contract fit under the cap. There were reports that the Dolphins are very interested in him, and so they made a strong push for him as well. And then afterwards, the Patriots, we'll talk about this later, but they signed James Ferentz, or no, Ted Karras. Sorry, Ted Karras, and he already played center for us the one season that Andrews was out with blood clots. So all the Patriots fans on Twitter that I follow, everyone in the media thought, "Oh man, Andrews is gone." But then Philly B swoops in, gets him to take a massive, massive pay cut to return to the Patriots. Here's to all you saying that nobody wants to play for Bill. Uh, Fuck you. um, so, yeah, here's David Andrews coming back to the Patriots, most important player on that offensive line. So, yeah, I'll give this an A plus plus plus.
Yeah, this is a really good signing. I don't know how you guys got him to take that pay cut. I guess he's just a New England guy. He likes Bill Belichick. He likes the Patriots. Likes what they're doing here. Likes their like their path. And yeah, this is just I don't even know how this happened. This O line is absolutely stacked, and we'll talk about more signings later with the O line. But like, my God,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God, this is
Next, another
steal.
important re signing, in my opinion, Nick Folk. We re signed him for 1 year, $1 million. Honestly, as a Patriots fan, it was a very bleak year last year. Not too much going on. Pretty disappointing as a fan, but you can't really expect much with the greatest player of all time leaving your team in Tom Brady.
Yep.
So Nick Folk was a really important piece to our team. He made the special team units elite. Him and our punter Bailey. So Folk was our most consistent player. He started off the season a little bit slowly, but then he rounded into form, and he honestly was one of our best players, if not our best player on the team. So this is an A in my books.
Yeah. He's a really good kicker. What can I say? He's just like a player you have to resign, and obviously you got him on a cheap deal. So yeah.
Next, we're going to start off with the splashes that we made in free agency in the legal tampering period.
Yep.
So first things first, the legal tampering period started, and Patriots fans didn't really have a lot of hope. We thought, oh man, hopefully Bill Belichick comes in aggressive, but he hasn't really done so before. He's been a big build through the draft guy, get guys for cheap. But he went in within 45 minutes of the league tampering period, started Jonnu Smith, 4 years, $50 million with $31.25 million guaranteed. So, as a Patriots fan, I got to watch every single game last year. And the most disappointing position last year was the tight ends. Our most consistent tight end was Ryan Izzo. Half the NFL fans do not even know who he is. He had 13 receptions for 130 yards on the season. So obviously Billy B, he had just come off of Gronkowski. So he realized the importance of the tight end position, and he went in and he was like, "I'm going to get my guy," and he got Jonnu Smith. Excellent player, elite athlete, inline tight end, can take balls out of the backfield, elite red zone threat. He had 8 receiving touchdowns. Um, and yeah, a lot of people are knocking the fact that he hasn't had a 450-yard season, but keep in mind, he only was the featured tight end for 2 years now with Delaney Walker leaving. He's still a young guy, a lot to prove. And he wasn't even the focal point of his offense last year, too, with A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry. Obviously, that's a run-first offense, but hopefully with this new tight end centered offense we're going to run, hopefully it can go off, you know?
Yeah.
I give it an A minus.
Yep. A minus. Okay.
A minus.
I mean I really like this signing. Shout out to James Park. who got me on the Jonnu Smith wave last year on fantasy. Um, Jonnu Smith, he's just a complete freaking freight train. He's completely jacked. He's more of a he can be a gadget player. He can play on the line. He could block very well. Like you said, he can receive balls out of the backfield. And under Josh McDaniel's offense, which sometimes could get a little frisky, I like how Johnny Smith can be utilized. And honestly, this is a great signing, and we'll get to the next one, next tight end they signed, and he can play great second fiddle to Hunter Henry.
Yeah, so the next player that we signed was a huge, huge contract. Matt Judon, 4 years, $56 million. Again, $31.25 million guaranteed. Our pass rush last year was very, very weak. Not too many sacks generated. Not a lot of consistency after coming off a season where we were the number one defense in the NFL. We had a very weak team. Poor run defense, 26th in the league. Poor sacks, didn't really generate a lot of pressure. Our only real consistent guy was Chase Winovich, and even he was a bit iffy sometimes. So obviously Billy B knew that he had to address the defense in free agency, and he went out and got a big signing in Matt Judon, one of the better outside linebackers in the NFL. Obviously, last year he had a bit of a down year, 6 sacks, but the 2 years before that, Pro Bowl player. Hopefully, we can bring that back here in New England, and just versatility because he can rush the passer, he can stop the run, and he can even drop back coverage. And obviously, with Bill Belichick's defense, it's a very specialized defense, and I think Judon's a perfect player. So I'll give this a B plus because it
Yeah,
was a bit of an overpay in my
yeah,
books.
that's what I was about to say. I think they kind of paid him a lot of money for what he is. I mean, he hasn't hit double digit sacks. I mean, I guess sacks isn't really a good uh stat to look at, but honestly, like that's what gets you paid in the NFL. And I think it was a solid signing. I think that was something they had to do. They had to bring in a solid pass rusher because obviously last year, like you said, Chase Winovich was their best pass rusher. And I think you need to beef up that defensive line. You got to beef up that defense. And, bringing in Matt Judon is what they had to do. And they paid him that money. And we'll just see how it turns out. So, yeah, I agree with your B plus.
Yeah. So the next player that we signed was another huge splash on offense, Nelson Aguilar. Nelly Aguilar, he was known in Philly for a receiver with a lot of speed, but a lot of drop issues. So he was a bit infamous for his drop issues with the meme with the guy from Philadelphia who caught the baby, remember? Where he caught the baby
Oh,
from
yeah.
the building. He was like,
Better
man, I
hands.
got the Nelson Aguilar hand. I can't have the Nelson Aguilar hands. So, but last year on the Raiders, he had a bit of a turnaround breakout season, 800 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. Excellent, excellent player. Elite deep threat. He really stretched the defense out. Him and Ruggs there in Las Vegas. I was about to say Oakland. But yeah, I think he can really stretch the defense out because obviously last year we didn't have a lot of athletes at receiver. We had the weakest receiving core in the NFL in my books. Um, so this is a key signing here. He can stretch the defense out. And yeah. And then I'll give this a B minus because we overpaid him.
Yeah, I mean, he was a good receiver last year for Las Vegas, and yeah, I don't have to play him twice a year. We don't have to play him twice a year anymore.
Yes. So here's another huge splash that Billy B made. Hunter Henry, 3 years, $37.5 million, 25 guaranteed. He's obviously an elite tight end, but I'm not a huge fan of this move because we're obviously paying two tight ends a lot of money. 12.5 mil a year. Not sure how I feel about that. I'm not saying he's a bad player, really excellent player, but I'm not sure how I feel about a two tight end offense in the NFL in 2021. Obviously, we had the two tight end offense with Gronk and he who shall not be named. And hopefully, I think Billy B wants to bring that back, McDaniels, and give Newton just a really good security blanket in the red zone. So yeah, I'll give it a C plus. It's a lot of money, but he's a good player.
I think at that point into free agency when you guys signed Hunter Henry, that was like a little bit later, and I think at that point you guys were done signing like receivers, and at that point you had what you have. You had like Kendrick Bourne, you had Nelson Aguilar, so you needed like a solid threat, and you couldn't bring in like Juju or Kenny Galladay, and so I think Hunter Henry was a good move. He was very good for the Chargers, and that's just the kind of money that you need to pay for one of those top echelon players.
Yeah, um, and then we'll skip a little bit of the depth signings, and we'll go to Kyle Van Noy. We signed him for 2 years. What is that? $13 million, I believe. 2 years, $13 million. Obviously, a lot of familiarity with the Bill Belichick defense. Didn't really work out last year in Miami. They gave him a huge contract. He didn't really live up to the money, and they cut him surprisingly, which shows that it's really a business in the NFL. And Bill Belichick welcomed him back with open arms because obviously Van Noy was a very solid player for Billy B and a lot of Super Bowl runs. With the Lions, he was a very average player, nothing special. But then once he came to New England, Bill Belichick really used his versatility. Can rush the passer, drop back into coverage, a little bit in the mold of Judon, but a little less of a player. Familiarity with the system. Really happy to have him back because now our linebacking core is a strength with Donta Hightower coming back as well. On a weakness turned into a strength. So yeah, B plus.
Yeah, I think Bill Belichick is very good at turning mediocre players and exposing their talents and using them to make them almost as like star players to get them paid. Like Van Noy got paid so much in Miami for what he did in New England, and then obviously he didn't turn out as well because I think Bill Belichick's system is just something that's very unique. And I think bringing him back is, it's a very solid idea. You're basically getting your defense back from 2 years ago when you're in playoff contention. And yeah, very good signing.
So do you want to talk about draft needs now?
Yeah, okay. So let's transition into draft needs. Honestly, let's just go right into the Patriots draft needs.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
you
do
can go ahead.
that. So obviously we addressed wide receiver in the in free agency, but the only receiver the Patriots still should be selecting is the number one guy because I feel like that's still lacking. We have a lot of solid players: Myers, Bourne, Aguilar, Edelman coming back, but we still need that number one guy in my book, in my opinion. So the players we should be targeting are Jalen Waddle, who I think he's a little bit high. It would be a little bit of a steal if we were able to land him. But if he falls, you gotta snatch him up really quickly because he's an elite deep threat. But he also has the route running abilities on drags, crossing routes. Excellent player, great hands, and he can high point the football really well. Next, Devonta Smith, also highly unlikely that he falls, but if he does, you got to snatch him up. Excellent route runner, great hands, obviously the Heisman winner. But the only knock on him really is that he has a very skinny frame. And then I think Rashad Bateman is the guy that we need to be targeting. Elite route runner, elite separator, excellent speed. Everyone thought that his speed would be an issue, but it really isn't. Everybody has like for some reason Bateman is very low on draft boards, like in like the late first round range. But I think he's an elite receiver. I don't know why, because every single big board I read, everybody's like, "Yeah, we're gonna put Bateman down low," but he's a really good player. So I'm really starting to like think, why is he so low? So yeah, I think he's a really solid player that we can target. And then the last guy, Terrence Marshall from LSU, big body receiver, red zone threat, and can go deep. So I think he has the mold of a number one guy. And then next we have D tackle. We addressed D tackle a little bit in free agency, but Lawrence Guy is leaving, and we still need some big bodies on the line for that 3-4 defense that Billy B runs. So a guy that we can target is Christian Barmore from Alabama. Really solid player, but he's very inconsistent at times. But he started to play his best football towards the end of the season. Next is Levi Onwuzurike. Oh wait, yeah, Levi Onwuzurike from Washington. He opted out last season, but if you watch the tape from the year before, he can really generate pressure from the inside, which is very valuable in today's NFL, and he's excellent at stopping the run. And then another guy is Davion Nixon from Iowa. He was a Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, and he is really, really excellent at generating pressure from inside. He knows how to use his pass rush moves well and disrupts the backfield. And then the final guy we can target a bit later on in the draft is Marvin Wilson. 2 years ago, he was seen as one of the elite D tackle prospects going into this year's draft, but he had a very inconsistent year last year, very disappointing. But I still think he has all the tools if he's properly motivated by Billy B. And next is a controversial one,
Yep.
but I think we still have to go quarterback. Cam Newton, there's really nothing much behind him. Stidham, not the guy. Brian Hoyer, not the guy. So you need to bring another guy in there. I think a young guy that can be groomed possibly under Cam, because I don't think Cam is a long-term option. So I think guys that we can target with trade ups include Trey Lance. I think Lance would be perfect in the system. It's a really run first offense that we have here, and Lance is the perfect guy. As he was shown, he was very mobile at North Dakota State. He has a great arm, elite arm, which is something that Cam Newton lacks. And I think he's the perfect guy to learn under Newton. Another guy I think we can target is Justin Fields. Really along the same lines as Trey Lance, elite athlete, big bodied guy, big arm, big legs, really, just a solid like tree trunks.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he can run. A lot of people don't realize that he's a very mobile guy. But the knock on Fields is that he's a one read quarterback. Ohio State schemed up a lot of open reads for him, and same thing with Lance. But Fields is a lot more noticeable. Um, he had a couple weak games at the end there with Northwestern and Iowa State. Sorry, Indiana, not Iowa State.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So he really just needs to get his consistency down and learn how to just go through his progressions. And I don't know if that's something that you can teach. I think that's just a natural born ability. And I don't know if maybe proper coaching, but he has all the tools. It's just he needs to get his mentals right. I don't know how you feel about Fields.
Fields, I think he's a third ranked quarter. Actually, no, I might, right now, he's at 4 for me. I
I
have
think so too.
I have Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, then I have Justin Fields. So, Fields is someone that the Broncos could even look at, but I don't know. I think he still could be a very good quarterback in the NFL. This is a very good quarterback class. Like, don't get me wrong. So yeah, I think a lot of people are just like used to like those two quarterbacks being good and then like it falling off completely. But this like people need to know that this year's draft quarterback class is very good.
Yeah, and next is another guy that's very popular amongst Patriots fan bases, Mac Jones. Personally, I do not like Mac Jones. I think he is a product of the Alabama system. I don't think you can have an accurate evaluation on him based on the level of talent that was surrounding him. He had an elite running back behind him in Najee Harris, elite O line, and the greatest receiving core I think I've ever seen behind maybe last year's Alabama and
Yep.
maybe last year's LSU.
Yep.
He had Jalen Waddle, top 10 pick, Devonta Smith, top 10 pick, and then he had his tight end Forrestall, who's going to get drafted later on this year. And John Mechie, I think.
Yeah.
Mechie.
Hmm.
He's another great player going to get drafted next year. So I just think it's really unfair to and like very difficult to evaluate him when he's throwing to receivers with 5 yards of separation. He has a great deep ball. He's mobile at times, surprisingly mobile, but I think his arm is I don't know if his arm is elite, and I think he's not the proper athlete that you need to have in the NFL because I saw this thing on Twitter and I really liked it. It's only worth drafting a first round quarterback in my eyes if they're mobile because the league is going more towards mobile quarterbacks. And if your guy can't run, you're kind of stuck in the past. You really need a mobile quarterback if you're going to draft him in the first round. And then the next guy we have, maybe later on the draft, second, third round, Kellen Mond. He surprised a lot of people at the Senior Bowl. He wasn't on a lot of people's radar, but he has an excellent arm. He really does. He can run. He can really, really run. But he has a lot of interesting decision making. He's made a couple of bad throws. He could make all the throws, but sometimes he eyes his receivers down and chucks it no matter what. He has one read as well, and then just throws it downfield. But I think with the proper coaching, I think he can be a very solid NFL quarterback, and he's on a lot of NFL teams' radar early on. And then finally, we have cornerback because there's obviously the Gilmore rumors. I think they're going to keep him this year, but I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I think a guy that we can target early on in the first round with our first round pick, if we really want to, is J.C. Horn. Very physical man corner. Bill Belichick would really, really love him. good athlete, causes turnovers, breaks up passes, very physical guy. He has a bit of a hands problem though. Very physical, commits a lot of penalties. Um, but yeah, I think he'd be a really solid fit for the Patriots defense. Originally, I didn't really like him in the first round because I thought we needed to address offense, but after the free agency, it's okay if we draft Horn. Next guy, Greg Newsome, a corner that's flying up draft boards right now from Northwestern. Very long, athletic cornerback that can really disrupt plays, and he's the prototypical NFL quarterback right now, cornerback right now. And then another guy I think that's flying under the radar right now, UCF cornerback Aaron Robinson. In the second round, I think he'll be a steal. I really do. Very fits the mold of Newsome. Um, Long, rangy, athletic, can really cover man on man, and I think he'll do really well in the NFL if he has the proper coaching.
Yeah, overall, Patriots needs going into the draft, probably quarterback, receiver. You need that receiving threat. Haven't had that in a while. Beef up the defense, just get some depth in there, get some maybe young talent. But honestly, with Bill Belichick running the draft, I honestly don't know if they'll take any of these like star players. Like he's never done that before. But we'll see. This year's draft is pretty loaded. Okay,
I agree.
so
So
yep,
we're gonna go to the Broncos now.
yep. Okay,
Take it
so
away, Daniel.
So Broncos, this is a little interesting now because the Broncos filled out their corner room in free agency with Kyle Fuller and Ronald Darby, and now they have Bryce Callahan in the nickel. So I think we're pretty set there. So now we should think about trading up, which I think is a possibility because like I'm gonna put my opinion out there. I do not really like Drew Lock. I watched every single Broncos game last year, and he didn't improve. He didn't learn from his mistakes. Like George Payton said, he has the tools, but he has to work on a lot. And honestly, from right now and from what I watched last year, I do not see it at all. He's had a good offseason from what I've heard, but still I think you need to bring in competition. And obviously we're not doing that right now in free agency. So a trade up, I could see a trade up. So what I like, players I like, Trey Lance. Like I've said, he's mobile. He has a very good arm. He's very strong. He's dude is like you said, he's complete tree trunks. Justin Fields, like you said, I have him at fourth rank, but he's still like a very good quarterback. And then honestly, if we don't trade up, like those are the two quarterbacks I would trade up for. I don't think we're gonna be able to get Zach Wilson. So, and then further down, we could get Mac Jones even, or and then like you said, Kellen Mond. Those are the four quarterbacks I'm liking right now. And then,
Yeah, wait, can I just
okay,
comment on that?
yeah, yeah.
Locke, I think he has all the physical tools. He has a big arm, likes to throw it downfield a bit too much at times. He had a couple of really good games last year, though. He played well against the Raiders in the last game of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Had a great game against the Panthers, 4 touchdowns. But he, like you said, he throws it downfield all the time. He never really checks down. He doesn't really go through his progressions. He's a one read guy, and you don't really want that from a third year quarterback in the NFL. So hopefully he can make the improvements. I really like Fields for you guys. I think I think Fields is the perfect guy. I think he can learn, and I think Mac Jones also fits in your offense. I don't like him in the Patriots offense, but in your offense, I think he'll do really well because he's a great distributor. Obviously, he had that role in Alabama's offense, getting into his playmakers, and you
Mhm.
guys have elite skill position players. So I think he would be a really good fit in your offense. Which is surprising that I'm saying this, but yeah,
Yeah, we're getting away from the John Elway era. No more tall white quarterbacks. We can bring in some other players. All right, so
a bit
getting
of
into
diversity, huh?
yeah. Okay. Also, commenting on the commenting on the Drew Lock games that he played well in Carolina and Las Vegas. Carolina's defense was absolute garbage,
Bad,
like, absolute
bad,
garbage, and Las Vegas's defense was absolute garbage
even
last year.
worse,
Even worse.
even worse.
I'm not giving Drew Lock the benefit of the doubt. Okay, so I'm
Fair
gonna go.
enough.
We're almost running out of time here on the Zoom thing, so I'm gonna go pretty quick. Um, another position need is linebacker. So inside we have Josie Jewell and we have Alexander Johnson. Again, it's just like they're just solid players. So I want to bring
Yeah,
in
solid.
like a solid like stalwart defensive presence. So Micah Parsons is one, and then obviously Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and Zaven Collins. My rankings on this, I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah I think he's the best linebacker in the draft. And I feel like that narrative is kind of it's like a national media kind of thing, but I truly believe that. And I think Micah Parsons, he was hyped up, but then it came out that he had like character issues, and I think that's what's putting him over the top right now. But I think Koromoa is a more skilled, more NFL ready quarterback in my linebacker in my opinion.
Linebacker.
Yeah. And then Zaven Collins is just someone deep in the draft who's I think is underrated and we could take.
Athletic freak.
Yep. Okay, next position we have safety. So obviously with Kareem Jackson out, we need we need a strong safety. I think this is actually a position that I think we could draft. So obviously the number one safety draft right now is Trayvon Moehrig. Um, don't know much about him, but all I know is he's ranked number one. And then after that, we have Richie Grant and Javon Holland. I just remember watching Javon Holland last year in Oregon, and that dude was freaking amazing. And then Richie Grant, I heard good things about him too. Yeah,
Yeah, Morig is a very solid all around safety. I watched a little bit of him. He's just good at everything.
yeah. Okay, so now going into defensive end, I think this is also a position we could draft because our team is solid, like our line is solid, but I think it could be better. And I think we could improve this by bringing in a very, very good defensive end prospect in Jalen Phillips, who's surprisingly like very good. He's very, very good, but it's just that he has the injury risk. That's why that's why like he's not going high on draft boards. I think he has a very he's very technically sound, and he can also use his power, and he can also adjust to top tackles. So yeah, and then my second defensive end is Aziz Ojulari, and I really like him, and I really want the Broncos to draft him.
Yeah, he's very versatile. He took over the Cincinnati game, the bowl game. He had 3 straight sacks in the game. I think if I'm not mistaken, but he can drop back and cover as well. Phillips, on the other hand, he's a very just put your hand in the dirt, go get the quarterback kind of guy. Elite player though. I think without the concussion injury and the retirement issues, because he retired from football at UCLA and then transferred to Miami. But I think he's an elite player, and then there's just the injury risk. So yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to pass on a top defensive talent anymore after seeing Devin White go off in the Super Bowl and Devin Bush go off on the Steelers. I want to bring in a very good defensive player for Vic Fangio to utilize to maximum capacity capability. So overall, Broncos draft, it's honestly down to BPA at this point because we filled in our top need, and I think I trust George Payton. I think he'll do what he needs to do. I trust him. If that means trading up for a quarterback, if that means staying at 9 and taking a linebacker, maybe. And I could also see a trade down because if we don't get a quarterback, then honestly, then we could trade down to get more picks. Honestly, we could use that. But yeah, I like the path that the Broncos are taking.
I think the trade
Yeah,
down is a good move for you guys.
yeah. The trade down should be good. We did it with no Fant, and he turned out
And
pretty
he's a solid elite tight
pretty
end.
damn good. But
Yeah.
also, I don't know, Noah Fant or Devin Bush.
I don't know. I think for that offense you really needed Noah Fant at the time.
Yeah, but also this is why I don't Drew Lock. He doesn't pass it to Noah Fant. Noah Fant was
I know
literally
he only chucks it deep.
he was wide open so many times last year. This dude did not throw to Noah Fant. Noah Fant could be a very good top tight end in the NFL if the ball is thrown to him.
Top five.
Top
Top
five.
five.
He
He
could
has
be
top
very
five
good.
talent.
He
He's
could be,
good.
and he's improved as a blocker too. Like he could be good. Our tight end room is solid, and yeah, that's it for the Broncos. So now we're gonna go into free agency winners and free agency losers. So, okay, first winner, obviously, we're gonna have the Patriots for being just aggro motherfuckers who just went in and signed everybody. Bill Belichick is baby raging and salty that Tom Brady won a Super Bowl, so I guess he wants to compete
And he
again.
said, "Fuck you. I'll see you there."
Okay, the next winner we have the Jets, who made some solid signings. I like the direction
Carl
that this team.
Lawson,
Yeah, Carl Lawson. They brought
Corey
in.
Davis.
Yeah, they brought in a solid receiver. They kind of overpaid him, but I like the signing. Yeah.
I think he has the potential to be I think he could be a wide receiver one. Obviously, AJ Brown was an elite player for them, top 10 receiver in my books. Really, really good player. But I think Corey Davis with the opportunity to shine now here in New York with I think Zach Wilson's going to come in, distribute the ball to him, really force feed him, and make him an elite receiver as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the direction that the Jets are going in, and they're building around their defense too, which I really like. And they're, I'm gonna say this: the one strength they had last year was their defense, and that was
Yeah,
pretty much it.
their D line is excellent. Joe Douglas is that dude. He knows what he's doing,
Yeah,
and it's his first. Is it his second draft? It's his second draft. He can
yeah,
bring his guy in at quarterback. I believe with Zach Wilson, and I think he's just putting Wilson in a position to succeed, and that's what you need to do. And it's props to him. I mean, I don't want to play them 2 times a year, but soon it'll be a real threat. So good for them.
yeah. And it should be interesting to see what they do with Sam Darnold, whether if it's to trade him or honestly if it's to have him compete with Zach Wilson, which I don't really see happening. Okay,
Yeah.
the next team we have the Chargers, who beefed up their O line with who they signed Riley Reef and
No, no, no.
oh no, Matt
Matt
Fielder.
Feeler and
Yeah,
Corey Linsley, best center
Corey
in the
Lindsey.
NFL.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they beefed up their O line for Justin Herbert. I mean, they brought in a defensive minded coach, but backing up the offense is really what they need to do. Their defense was a problem. I think that's why they brought in a young coach like that to beef up their defense.
Staley, right?
Yeah, Staley. He
Staley.
was actually an assistant under Vic Fangio, and they're gonna run that Vic Fangio defense, that 3-4, I think. Um,
Yeah, he
yeah,
was the defense coordinator for the Rams last year. Obviously, it helps when you have Aaron Donald and
yeah,
Jalen Ramsey, but he had the number one defense in the NFL, and I think they could be a real contender. Obviously, it's very difficult with Mahomes in that division, but I think they can come in as a wild card team. I don't know how you feel about that as a division rival, but I think if Herbert takes another leap and they get their other young guys to develop, I think they're a really dangerous team and can upset somebody in the playoffs.
yeah. Honestly, it's the Chargers, so they're cursed and they're not gonna win anything. I don't care. All right, the Browns,
Ah,
the Browns, they're interesting. I really like the Browns. I started following the Browns last year. I watched their YouTube series Building the Browns, and I was really liking what Kevin Stefanski was doing there. And I called that they were going to be. I called that Baker Mayfield was going to be really good this year, and he was. He was solid. And I really think it wasn't
pay
him.
him,
Yeah, it wasn't a
pay
him.
him,
It wasn't a Baker problem. It was a Freddie Kitchens problem. That dude was completely incompetent. And yeah, they brought in John Johnson, top safety, filled in one of
and
their
Troy
heavy
Hill.
needs, and Troy Hill. And then they brought who they brought in Tack McKinley, solid defensive end,
Yeah.
solid value. Yeah,
He's more of a project. Hopefully, they can get a healthy Tack McKinley, and then hopefully they can coach him up because they really need somebody opposite Myles Garrett because he's the only one that's really generating pass rush.
yeah,
Granted, he generates more pass rush than a couple NFL teams,
yeah,
but he needs a little bit of help there. I think
yeah. Olivier Vernon is just not it, and Andrew Sendejo is just not it.
bad,
Okay,
bad. I feel
okay,
bad for Grant
yeah,
Delpit though.
yeah.
I
I
feel
mean, I
really
feel like
bad
they
for him.
they can play three safeties. Like they can play three safeties. I feel like
Yeah, they
it
could.
won't be that bad.
They could.
Okay, and then the last winner we have here is the Washington football team, who I feel like could win their division pretty easily. I feel like.
I think it depends on the Cowboys defense, but yes, I really think the Washington football team improved. Fitzpatrick, Curtis Samuel, who I want on the Patriots, but it's okay because I like Curtis Samuel and I root for the football team on the side a little bit because I think they have a really nice up and coming team. I
William
hopped on their
Jackson.
bandwagon last year. William Jackson, number
Yeah.
one corner for them now. Yeah, I think they really improved, and I think they have the proper team to make a run at the playoffs in their weak division.
Yeah, I like what Ron Rivera is doing. Just Dan Snyder, please sell the team.
Yeah,
Okay.
sell the team.
Okay, now we're gonna quickly go into free agency losers. We have the Titans at number one. Um, they traded away Isaiah Wilson. That was, I mean, I wouldn't really call that free agency, but I just want to talk about that. How they drafted him in the first round and then traded him away, and they actually lost money, so much money on that, and then now he's just gone.
Yep. And then on top of that, they lost Corey Davis, lost Johnu Smith, cut their starting tackle, Dennis Kelly, who was the Isaiah Wilson replacement.
Yeah.
Um, and then they also cut Adoree Jackson, another former high draft pick. So they lost a lot of talent. They lost their offensive coordinator, which isn't free agency, but I really think that they're going to take a step back this year. Obviously, they still have King Henry, but I don't know. I really don't know. I think they're going to be a very average team this year after making a run in the last two playoffs.
Yeah, I like the Denico Autry signing from the Colts.
Oh yeah, I do
Yeah,
like that.
their defensive line. like actually had no pressure at all. Like Jadeveon Clowney could not do anything. Um,
Yeah, he was
yeah,
very disappointing last year.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know where he's gonna go either. He's still on the free agency market. All right, next we have the Texans. Complete dumpster fire organization. I don't know what the hell
Poverty
they're doing,
franchise.
dude.
Poverty franchise.
Dude. They're cursed. They're an absolute curse. They're cursed after.
So
Yeah, they're cursed after the Astros like cheating scandal. The whole city of Houston is just cursed. And yeah, they just brought
yeah,
in a bunch of filler players on like 1 year contracts just to like fill out the roster. It's very confusing what they're doing. And then obviously now you have Deshaun Watson with 22 sexual assault
rape.
accusations.
Yeah,
So
not
yeah,
rape. I'm not gonna say rape. I'm gonna say harassment
yeah,
and assault.
yeah, and it seems like he's gonna go to jail, but I don't know.
No,
I mean, I don't know.
no, Daniel. They're civil lawsuits. They're not criminal. It's gonna
Oh
be
yeah,
like a Big Ben and Kobe situation, where like he's just gonna have like a reputation.
yeah,
He'll pay a heavy fine, but I don't think 22 is smoking on is like smoke. If there's like it's like it's bad. 22
yeah.
women don't come
No,
out. Like, come on. I know you, and I know it's innocent until proven guilty, but 22,
yeah, bro. There's
22.
something wrong with that guy, and I don't know why. I
Yeah,
don't like. I think he should be put on the exempt list by the commissioner. I mean, the commissioner puts people who smoke weed on the exempt list, so I don't
yeah.
know. We'll
I
see.
and that's just even more value lost for him in a potential deal
Yeah,
because I don't think
honestly,
anyone's gonna.
yeah. I mean, I would want him, but at the same time, 22
I don't
women.
think I don't think you. It's like trading for Myers Leonard.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And then obviously the last loser
No,
we
but I
have.
still.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
yes,
Yeah,
but
you go ahead.
also one sec. They made like a couple of good signings with the King and the Lindsay situation.
Yeah.
I think they signed a really good player in Denzel King, elite slot corner, elite special teamer. He was a All Pro for the Chargers a couple years ago. Um, and Philip Lindsay, we talked about him earlier.
Yeah.
Crowded backfield, but I think he'll earn a starting job.
Yeah. But if Deshaun Watson stays, then that team's gonna be solid. They're going to be like. I mean, Deshaun Watson did like everything with nothing last.
Everything,
Yeah, with nothing last year. So
everything.
honestly, I could like if they keep Deshaun Watson, then I could see them finishing like second in their division, maybe. And then,
Yeah, it all depends on how good Trevor Lawrence is, really.
yeah, honestly. And then the last team we have, it's no, not same division. We have the Saints. Obviously they're in cap hell. Drew Brees is retired, so pretty much I think they're gonna have to start rebuilding soon, unless Jameis can prove himself and they could actually compete, which I think he can. But I don't know, we'll see. They made a lot of cuts. They did a lot of contract restructuring. They basically just finessed the cap space and like are now like went from 100 million under to like 30 million, 10 million or something like that.
No. They're almost positive.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, they're pretty much
They're
out of it.
almost positive.
They're pretty much out of it. So, yeah, I think
Yeah,
but like still, they had to cut a lot of players. They lost Drew Brees. They had to cut Janoris
just a lot of
Jenkins.
talent left the
Yeah,
building.
Quan Alexander's gone. Yeah, so I think they're. I mean, they still have
They're gonna
Alvin.
take a step back.
They still have
They're
Alvin
gonna take
Kamara, Michael Thomas. So I mean, we'll see how they play it. They lost Emmanuel Sanders too.
Yeah. I don't know. Sean Payton's gonna have to work some magic.
Yeah. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up our NFL talk of the podcast. Now we're gonna get into something a little more fun. We're gonna get into music recommendations, and this is a segment we're gonna do every podcast. So second, why don't you go first with your music recommendation?
Yeah, I'll start off with this one. It's a little older. It's Telegraph Avenue, Oakland by Lloyd by Child Gambino.
Yes, sir.
Just a very vibey song.
Shout out to
Uh,
Miss T. Shout out to Miss T.
yes. Our ninth grade and current English teacher loves Gambino. But yeah, I really love this song. Just something you can put on as background and just like vibe to, you know?
You know, honestly, this is like a type of song you play when you're driving, like late at night. This is a vibe. This is a very vibey song.
It's that song, you know?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I actually love it. And okay, so mine is shout out to Jack Zeger, the boy. We went out to Fort Lee the other day, and we played the song in the car, Rise and Shine by J. Cole. I absolutely love this song. I played this before every single basketball game we played this year. Every single basketball game. I absolutely love the song. It's just, get you hyped, but it's also vibey. Like you could hum to that hook. Yeah, I love J. Cole. Yeah, okay. So that's gonna do it for the Sports Rivals Podcast, episode 1. Hope you guys enjoyed.
That was fun. That was
Yep.
fun.
We're gonna have more podcasts coming. Obviously the draft is coming up soon.
March
And
Madness.
March Madness, we're gonna talk about that soon as well. We'll probably get Arahant on for that one, and Jack probably. Um, yeah, and then we're gonna have an NBA episode coming up. Obviously, okay, so our friend Arahant, he's a Knicks fan, and I'm a Nets fan, so we're gonna have that going too. And then Segev's a Celtics fan, so honestly, we're all rivals here. And yes,
Yeah.
so that's gonna do it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
All right.